So in New Hampshire, we've seen a concerning rise in the rate of people experiencing homelessness, and this seems connected, at least in part, to the lack of affordable houses. And I'm wondering what steps you would take as president to ensure that we can address this issue and end it ultimately altogether.
Thank you. So wrestling with homelessness is something I think every mayor, or at least every mayor of a diverse and largely low-income city, takes personally and works on a lot. And while no easy or magic solution has presented itself, we've learned a ton just in the last 10 years about how to get traction on the issue. One of the things we've learned and have adopted in South Bend is what's called a housing first approach. And the idea is that a lot of times the previous attitude was, people have to get over certain hurdles before we can accommodate in homeless centers. And it's led to a lot of chronically unsheltered people, because it turns out what you really need to do is get somebody indoors and then start working through their issues, especially when you have homelessness related to addiction or mental health concerns, rather than expecting them to sort that out before you can even get them under a roof. And so we've expanded permanent supportive housing in our community, and I think there are needs. It sure would be nice if we had more federal support to create permanent supportive housing beds. The other thing we've started to do is learn that the stories of different homeless people are quite different, and we can get more traction if we take it a piece at a time. So we are close to declaring functional zero in South Bend when it comes to veterans homelessness. And there was a major national interagency effort. Major national effort that figured out that through by name lists and the ability to kind of route certain resources that are available to veterans, we get a lot of traction on that. To me now, the next move is families with children. Making sure that no family with a child is homeless in this country. And there are ways to get our arms around that without pretending we can solve every problem, but I think that's a natural move. We know that a disproportionate number of homeless youth are LGBTQ. My husband has shared his own experience in this regard. And so we know that by paying attention to the causes and nature of that kind of homelessness, we can get a big piece of the problem solved there. So it's not going to be kind of one size fits all. And you're right, obviously the question of homelessness is not unrelated to the question of housing. But we do have a housing policy that sometimes feels like it's one size fits all. What can you do? If you only have a policy designed for places where rent is $3,500 for a one-bedroom apartment, which it happens in this country. You have other places where, like where I live, where a house could be $35,000 for a good house, and actually a family can't buy it because they can't get a loan on a number considered too small by the bank. That doesn't always compute when I'm talking to audiences in bigger cities, but it's a real issue in communities like ours. So there needs to be enough flexibility, and that's why things like the Community Development Block Grant are so important, because they go to communities to figure out how to use it to create better housing options, knowing that what's going to work in Oakland is very different than what's going to work in South Bend. I was extremely upset when this administration proposed in its initial budget to slash that program. I think that we need to expand that program.